Hi, and welcome to my sewing room. My name's Leah, and I'm on week 12 of my UFO challenge, where I sew at least 15 minutes a day on my UFOs. I can't believe I finished up 12 weeks already. I'm super excited that I've stuck with this goal. It's not very often that I have a New Year's goal last this long. These 15 minutes a day have been the best thing for me to finish my UFOs. I've tried other things like picking one project a month or even joining online finish-along groups, but none of those have ever stuck. I think because I kept thinking to myself, oh, I'll work on that project this month. And I kept saying that every day until all of a sudden the end of the month came and I didn't have any more days left. I never really sat down and scheduled a time during those months to work on my UFOs. So this time around, I've set a date and a time. I try to get my 15 minutes in the morning before I go to work. But sometimes if I stay up too late and sleep in a little bit longer, then I try to nab those minutes during my lunch break. And even if that doesn't work, my final scheduled time is 15 minutes right after dinner. So I always have a backup plan. Knowing I need to schedule in these 15 minutes every day has really kept me on track and helped motivate me to finish up these UFOs. Now, having said all that, let's get into this week's project. Last week I finished up my Flying Dutchman UFO, but I hadn't picked out a new project. So Wednesday I spent my 15 minutes picking out a new project, figuring out where it was, and then assessing what needed to be done. I used the random number generator again, and this time it pulled up number 11, my Pastel Dresden project. I started this one in 2012. This was about the time I was participating in a lot of different blog hops. I was playing around with one called Dots on Dots, where you had to create a project using dot fabrics. And I made me a Dresden quilt out of some of the fabric that I had on hand. This is the project I was working on for that hop. This gave me the idea to make Dresdens using pastel dot fabric, and that's how this project behind me was born. As you can see, this is also still a UFO. It's actually number 10 on my list. In September of 2012, I cut out all the blades for my Pastel Dresden, but I didn't do much with them. In 2015, I was playing along with the Finish Along group on the internet, and I listed this quilt on my list of UFOs to finish. In the first quarter, I got 12 of the Dresden Blades sewn together. I also found a cool layout that I liked, but that meant I needed 18 blocks instead of 12, so I needed to make 6 more. That same summer in 2015, I finished up the 6 extra blocks that I needed, and then the project just sat there. I had so many good intentions of finishing this one. I even put it on my finish along list year after year after year, but it still stayed in this state. But now that it's been selected by the random number generator, I have high hopes for its completion. As I mentioned earlier, getting started with this one on Wednesday took all of my 15 minutes. I had to figure out where I put it. I knew I had a box called Pastel Dresden, and when I found it and opened it, it only had the fabrics that I had been using. It didn't have any of the Dresden plates I had already sewn, so I had to keep searching. I hunted through some other boxes on my shelves and I still couldn't find it. That led me to my closet, where I had another set of project bins, and there it was, clearly labeled Pastel Dresden. After looking through everything, I felt like I was in a pretty good place. I had 18 Dresden finished, including the center's hand stitched down. I also had a pile of Dresden Blades that appeared to be the start of another project. I really can't remember what I was doing with those. Thursday, I double-checked on what size background squares I needed. The Dresdens fit nicely on my 12.5-inch ruler. So I got out my bolt of Kona white and I cut out 18 squares and some smaller 2.5-inch squares for my sashing cornerstones. I'm sure glad I had snatched up this bolt of Kona white. I've already used it in my Flying Dutchman, my sweet little baby 9 patches, and now I'm going to be using it in the Pastel Dresden. Friday, I took the time to figure out what to do with these extra Dresden blades. I have 14 of each. I don't even remember what layout I was thinking about with only 14 blocks. Even fiddling around an EQ8, I could only come up with a layout on point that used 13 blocks. I might go with that one for this and then put the extra block on the back. It also looks like I'm missing some blades for this project. I think I was going for 3 blue, 3 purple, 3 pink, and 3 orange. But I only had 1 orange cut out, and I don't have any other orange fabrics that will go with these blocks. So I think I'll swap out the orange for these yellow prints. I'm not sure what to do with these orange blades though. For now, I think I'll just put them in the scrap bin. I could probably squeeze them into a smaller project somewhere else. The rest of the week I spent my 15 minutes cutting out squares. This layout needs 288 2.5-inch squares to complete the 48 sashing strips. And that's where I finished up the week with this UFO. I had a lot going on this week with other projects and family activities, so I really stuck to my 15 minutes this week. But I still got a lot of progress done. Next week the plan is to finish the sashing and glue down the Dresdens to my white squares. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to hand stitch them down or machine stitch them down. It just depends on how I feel next week. Thank you so much for following me on my UFO journey. I truly enjoy sharing this with you. It's a big motivator for me knowing that I'll be giving you these weekly reports on my progress. Until next time, happy sewing.